Before we get started, I do want to make a PSA and say the reason this video includes bonus content in the title is because I rarely cover the ACC. And this might be the only video of the month or the next few months where you hear me make a dedicated video to ACC football. Plus, the video is only 10 minutes long or that's at least what I'm intending it to be, so it's bonus content worthy. But anyway, Dabo Swinney and Clemson just did something that I never thought they were going to do. Something that makes me glad that I didn't release my way too early top 25 yet. Because this move and the firing of Brandon Streeter can move Clemson up several spots. I'd argue inside the top 10. Clemson's struggle hasn't just been their talent. In fact, it hasn't been their talent at all on offense. Rather, it's the lack of coaching. You saw this at Clemson on defense this year when Brent Venables left and most of the defense returned. You saw this when Tony Elliott left after the 2021 season, and really after Jeff Scott left after I think it was 2019 or 2020, whenever he left. My apologies if I'm not, 100% knowledgeable on Clemson football, but the offense has been down. In 2021 it was down, but at least you had an elite defense. The offense somewhat improved this season, but the defense regressed, and another year of Brandon Streeter is not going to be helpful because, let's face it, him and his offensive staff ruined DJ Uiagalelei, and I think Jonathan Smith being a better offensive mind than Brandon Streeter will help revitalize and bring new exciting life to DJ's career, which I think will do very well at Oregon State. It'll be the most talented quarterback Oregon State has had possibly in its history. We'll just have to see what he does in 2023. But let me read you some numbers for Clemson. Some numbers talking about their offense. Let me read you their 33.2 points per game in one of the weakest conferences in the nation, including the Group of Five. Including the Group of Five, they were 30th in not passing, but in scoring offense. 30th, with a strength of schedule of 42nd. Including a conference championship game against a ranked opponent. You factor that out, the SOS probably collapses to even more abysmal levels. Clemson played the equivalent of nobodies in their conference. And this is from a Big Ten perspective and a college football perspective. Listen, South Carolina, Notre Dame, Tennessee were Clemson's biggest games, and Clemson flunked in all of them. They got blown out by Notre Dame and Tennessee. And South Carolina, under a second-year head coach, under a QB who has looked awful for most of the year, completely wrecked them. Completely. I think South Carolina, they hung more than 30 points on that Clemson defense, which was 22nd in the country. And they allowed 20.9 points per game. By simple ranking system, Clemson was the 12th best team in the country in 2022. I actually think that that's very generous. I'd say that they were top 15 at best. Top 15 is in number 15 at best. An argument that they could be much lower. But here we are. And Streeter's gone. Dabo, who's very loyal to his staff, is not pulling Bobby Bowden the late years. He's not pulling Mark D'Antonio. He is doing what he needs to do. He's not digging his own grave. He's at least trying. And we've seen when Clemson tries before. We've seen when Clemson has elite QB before. Elite QB play, pardon me. We've seen when they have had big physical wide receivers. Good play calling. We've seen when they've had a fantastic defensive play. And you're at least getting the former of what I was mentioning back. You might be getting an offensive mind that has never stepped foot into Clemson. You very well might. Garrett Riley's resume speaks for itself, and this hiring is huge. It's absolutely huge. You're hiring an OC who just took a team that didn't even have top 25 talent and was projected to have a losing record to the national title. And if you say, well, technically it was Sonny Dykes, well, really it was the offense, which goes hand in hand with Sonny Dykes and Garrett Riley. But Joe Gillespie, as clearly shown in all of the big games that TCU has played in, except for Texas, the defense has been a liability for TCU the whole year. They finished 91st in the country in opposing points per game. They finished ninth, though, in scoring. TCU was basically USC with mental toughness. And, of course, they had Lincoln Riley's brother on their staff. But that's basically what TCU was. They were USC with mental and physical toughness. But same style of play, outscore your opponent, doesn't matter what happens on defense as long as our offense can get going, bend but don't break, rely on turnovers and opportunistic play. That's literally USC football under Lincoln Riley. That's the Lincoln Riley game plan. Except TCU took it to a next level with trench play physicality, with a secondary and linebacker core that actually has some potential NFL players on it. And they had Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson, and what they did on offense, impressive. It was absolutely impressive. He led a top 10 offense in 2022 at TCU and went 13-2. He has 3 years working as an OC and coached great QBs. He coached Tanner Mordecai, who played in 2021 at SMU, and Max Duggan this season. Those are two great QBs. And Riley is age 33. That's a young guy right there. And that'll allow him to be relatable to players. He will be an offensive coordinator who will be adapting consistently. He's not going to get set in his ways. That happens as you age, as you tend to get set in your ways. Not with all old people, or not always when you age, but oftentimes that can be something that settles in complacency. And you're not going to have that at age 33, at least I don't anticipate. More importantly, regardless of age, you're not going to have that with Garrett Riley. Just looking at what he did in 1 year at TCU, this is a bomb of a hire. Before this hire, I would have told you that Florida State, by probably far and away, is above Clemson in terms of contending for a college football playoff spot in the ACC title. Because Florida State, they had a solid recruiting class. They're first in the transfer portal. They returned Jared Verse, who is projected a top 10 pick from D-line, and they returned Jordan Travis, who's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. And they, returned several O-linemen, several other defensive players. They return guys from everywhere. And they're going to have some staff continuity as well, at least from what it seems like right now. And those are all things that play into a top 10 team. And Mike Norvell's offense that you saw at Memphis that just hummed against anyone it faced is beginning to come alive at Florida State. And you need guns to compete with that kind of offense. And Clemson, they believe, I think from what I've seen from their defensive staff and seeing that, Wes Goodwin and Mickey Kahn, they've been retained, and Brandon Streeter gone, Dabo has faith in his defensive coaches, and he thought that an upgrade was needed at OC. And he certainly has it. And this is a game changer for Clemson, because combining Garrett Riley with Cade Klubnik, who is going to have, he only had 1 year of development under Streeter. He's going to have 1 year of development under Riley. He, too, is not being set too much into the, let's be real here, inferior schemes that Brandon Streeter came up with. But now you have Riley, you have a better OC, and this isn't just ACC news, this is college football news. This is a big-time hire. And Clemson certainly now, I think, is a top 15, if not definite top 10 team with this hire and what they return. Coordinators and coaching is massive. Clemson, the way they've been recruiting And the talent they've had, they're top 10 in talent. And they have been for several years. The talent has been the issue. It's coaching. And it was complacency. And Dabo has taken that out. So expect Clemson. I don't know if they have the capability to win the national title. Maybe they do. But I'd say expect them to be better than they were in 2021 and 2022 for sure. And I'm certainly going to keep this team on my radar and do some bigger and better research and digging deep into their program. So thank you all for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and tell me your thoughts down below. Tell me what you think about Clemson football heading into 2023. Do you think they'll win the ACC and reach the college football playoff? Let me know. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and comment your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.